What you learn here in karting is everything. I mean, this is where it starts. Racing craft obviously is the biggest thing. I see drivers that move up too young. You know, they go into cars at the age of 14 years old and they never had that close quarters racing craft that they learned in karting.
You have to learn to be quick. You have to learn to make the best of your tires. You have to learn the technical setup of the go-kart. You know, same in a car. It's just at a different level in a car. So if you're winning in go-karts and you're really getting the most out of it, you know, you should translate to a, you know, a really quick car driver as well.
A lot of drivers will say a shifter kart or a KZ engine, it feels similar to an F1 driver. For instance, we had Rubens Barricello running with us last year at the Winter Tour, and he says it's the closest thing to Formula One. You can't get anything like it for this cost.
If you drive well a go-kart, you're going to be able just to drive any kind of formula. I mean, the shifters today, they have a lot of power, and they are the closest thing to a Formula One car.
Yeah, from karting, you learn the fundamentals. You learn what a racing line is, you learn what an apex is, you learn about corner radiuses and things that, you know, you would never know.
Knowing your lines, knowing the braking points, it all reflects back to karting.
Well, I think karting teaches you a lot of things that cars can't teach you. You look at racecraft, almost every race car driver that's grown up in karting has really good racecraft because it's less expensive to crash and you learn how to pass a lot better.
I'd say the racecraft applies 100%, but the actual driving technique and the little tricks that you pick up to go quick in a go-kart, they don't apply because in a go-kart most of the time you're on 3 wheels. I mean, that's just not something that ever obviously occurs in a race car.
I think the driving styles for go-karts depends on what class you're in. A shifter kart driving style is quite different than, say, a tag or something like that. I mean, I was smooth in go-karts, and I'm smooth in a car, but I learned a lot more once I got into driving a car about applying your driving style and maybe adapting a little bit more of a different style, of an aggressive style as well, you know, to kind of put things together. But you know, what you learn in karting certainly is not going to hurt you moving into cars.
For me, my goal was always Formula One. My goal was always to drive race cars. It wasn't to be a professional go-kart driver. It's two different sports. You have guys that have been doing this for 25 years, and I decided that when I was 14 and I had the opportunity to drive a race car and I was allowed to drive a race car, that's what I was going to do.
The best age I've seen where people are successful and they adapt and they move forward is around 10 years old. You know? I see dads starting their kids at 5, 6, 7 under that 10 age bracket and almost pushing too hard. And more often than not, I see those kids get to their early teens and they're burnt out.
I'm a very competitive person, so I mean, I'd say, you know, at 6 or 10 years old, you need to be focused on winning. Obviously, you need to make sure you enjoy it, though. And I'd say that's the biggest thing is when you stop having fun, it's very hard to be successful because you're not enjoying what you do. And
I enjoyed karting, but I didn't enjoy karting as much as I do enjoy driving cars. I mean, karting is tough, and there's a big discrepancy in equipment. There's a big discrepancy in, you know, who's spending what amount of money.
I do tell dads is not to start too young. You know, try to keep it fun. Get him involved in a very small way, and see if he even enjoys it. But it's got to be fun first.
To any karting dads or karting drivers out there, I would say the main thing is, in karting, you don't go after trophies. You want to learn how to drive a car. You want to develop your son or your daughter.
The biggest difference for me when I jumped from karting into car racing is just the size of the car. You know, I mean, in a go-kart, it's tiny. It only weighs a few hundred pounds. It reacts instantly to every movement you have on the steering wheel. And in a car, even though you're going faster, it just feels slower in the corners.
In this, the corners are a lot longer. It's a lot harder to pass because the cars are so heavy. You can't just dive in there and just hope it hooks up, you know, it doesn't work like that.
In the Honda shifter car with the front brakes, you can just attack the corners so hard and pass people from a ways back, which you cannot do in a car.
Go-karts are very different than race cars because there is no suspension, so all of the loading goes through your body, and because there's no suspension, there's no delay for loading to happen. So as soon as you turn in, there's instant G-force. Whereas in a car, it's a little bit delayed because it has to go through the tire and the suspension and everything before you're actually really feeling it.
You learn pretty much everything in karts to prepare you for cars, and that's kind of, I think, why it's a key to becoming a professional race car driver is karting.
Go-karting is a very good school for that. But you know, winning a go-kart race doesn't mean you're going to be the next Michael Schumacher. You know, there's so much ahead. There's so much work ahead. But just taking every step properly and knowing that what you're doing is the right, you know, is the right way to do it. I think that's the most important.
I mean, go to your local track. What's the most popular class? Get into it. Do things at a young age. Go and just do laps. Even if you're not racing, you can get used to the kart. You can start driving fast. And then there's always national series, you know, there's always competitive junior series, you know, if it's junior tag or if it's Yamaha Junior Can in my case when I was growing up. You know, you can always find that class and just get into it, because if there's 70 karts in that class, it must mean it's quite competitive, so you're going to learn something. Because karting is challenging, but if you can win races in karting, you can sort of prove yourself at a certain level, then it's time to move up into cars.